Welcome to CW 4.4. Today we're going to be reviewing how to graph a rational function. So for this first problem, the first thing you're typically going to want to do is find your x and y intercepts. So first, let's find the x-intercept. So recall, to do this, you're going to let y equal 0. So 0 should equal your function 2x minus 1 over x minus 1. We can solve this by multiplying by x minus 1. So notice how the bottom really doesn't matter. So 2x minus 1 equals 0. So there's our first intercept. The x-intercept must be a half. Now we'll do the y-intercept. For the y-intercept, you simply let x equal 0. So plug in 0 here, and we can see we get negative 1 over negative 1. So let's just write that as 1. So that wasn't too bad. The next thing we're going to do is find the asymptotes. So think back to last class, our vertical asymptote. I can look at that, I can see it should be x equals 1, and horizontal, y equals 2. It's imperative that you write x and y here. If you don't write that, you won't get full credit. And this is a part that's really important from Algebra 2b. You might have forgotten. So I'll write 2b here. Will it cross HA? This is a very important thing we got to figure out, because it is possible to cross, so we got to figure out, will it happen? Now, the way you do that is you simply make your HA equal to your function and see if you can solve it. So put a note here, that's what we're going to do. So our RHA was 2, so we're going to write 2 should equal our function, 2x minus 1 over x minus 1. We solve by multiplying by x minus 1. That should cancel, so you get 2x minus 2 equals 2x minus 1. Now notice this is kind of weird, because we can see that the 2x will cancel out, and we're left with negative 2 equals negative 1, which doesn't make any sense. Which means this cannot be solved, so therefore there is no cross. It will not cross the HA. Very important to understand that. And the final step, once we have all this information, you're simply going to plug in points. So let's graph. We have a couple intercepts. Our x-intercept is a half, so I'm going to put that in right here. And our y-intercept is 1. And then we have a vertical asymptote of 1 and a horizontal asymptote of 2. So let's draw that in here. Okay, looks pretty good. And already I can see here, I don't need any more points on this side of the graph, because I know I can't cross the vertical. So I'll just draw it like that. And from this information here, we can't cross the horizontal. So all that can happen is that I have to approach the asymptotes like that. And to make it clear, let's label this point right here is 0, 1. That point right there is 1/2, 0. The only issue is what's happening here. So to do that, let's plug in a point. Let's plug in this number 2. So 2, and let's plug it in. That would be 3 over 1, which is 3. And this 1 point is enough information, because now I know the graph has to be up here, and I got to approach the asymptotes. So just approach, approach, and you're done. There's your graph. Let's go to the next one. So very similar. We're going to find your x and y intercepts first. So now let's do it a little quicker. Our x-intercept, if you make 0 here, notice how if you multiply it over, this is impossible to solve. So there is no x-intercept. There's none here. And again, that's because imagine trying to solve this thing. This will cancel out, and this cannot be solved. Let's go to y-intercept, plug in 0, I should get positive 2. Now for step 2, vertical asymptote, I can see it should be x equals plus or minus 1. My horizontal, that's y equals 0. And again, we're using the rules from last class. I can see the bottom. It's simplified, so just take plus or minus 1. And it's 0 because this degree is larger than the degree up here. You can think of this as x to the 0 if that helps you. And then the new step is, will it cross the HA? So take your 0, set it equal to your function. Let's solve. And same as last time, there is no solution here, so there is no cross. Now the final step, let's graph it. So there's no x-intercept, but the y-intercept is 2. That's nice. So put a 2 right there. We have asymptotes at 1 and negative 1 that are vertical. So I'll put those in. And a horizontal of 0. Now we graph. Now we only have 1 point, but what's interesting about this point right here is that we know it can't cross the horizontal and it can't cross the vertical, which means there's only one option for what could happen. This thing has to be a little parabola like that. That's the only thing that could happen, and that point, I'll label it up here, that's 0, 2. Now the only issue is what's happening on these sides of the vertical asymptotes. So to do that, let's just plug in a number. We're going to plug in 2. 2. I plug in 2 right there. 2 squared is 4. 4 minus 1 is 3. So that's negative 2 over 3. So I'll graph that to about right there. And again, just approach your asymptote since I can't cross anywhere. And the other side, let's plug in negative 2. And notice how I'm going to get the exact same number as before, negative 2 over 3. Graph that. And there's our graph. And you might notice there is y-axis symmetry, which means this function is even. So some of our old concepts coming back. Now you're probably wondering, when will it cross the horizontal asymptote? So you are going to see that in today's work, in the problems, or in later in the worksheet.